Picture this, it's the 10th century. Europe is an absolute mess of warring factions, invading armies, and general chaos. But out of all that turmoil, one ruler is about to rise up and basically dominate the entire continent. This is the story of Otto I, a king who got handed a kingdom that was falling apart at the seams and managed to reforge it into a new Roman Empire.
I mean, seriously, how do you earn a title like the Great? It's not something they just hand out, right? For Otto, that title was forged in the fire of rebellion, invasion, and some truly brilliant political moves. So how'd he pull it off? Well, it basically came down to this incredible three-step playbook he followed.
First things first, he had to take this kingdom, which was really just a bunch of rival territories who hated each other, and somehow bend it to his will. And that meant taking on the most dangerous enemies a king can have, his own family and his most powerful nobles. Okay, so once the internal mess was handled, he had to face this massive external threat that had basically brought Europe to its knees. I'm talking about the ferocious Magyar horsemen from the east. These guys were a constant terror for, well, pretty much everyone. And finally, if he could manage all that, he could go for the ultimate prize. With his kingdom secure at home and safe from invaders, he set his sights on marching to Rome and claiming the title of emperor, bringing back a legacy that had been collecting dust for decades. All right, let's really get into it. Our story kicks off in the year 936. A 23-year-old Otto takes the throne of East Francia from his dad, Henry the Fowler. The problem is, this kingdom he inherits is, united in name only. His realm was really just a patchwork of 5 super powerful duchies. And you gotta understand, these weren't just provinces on a map. They were personal power bases for these fiercely independent dukes who saw themselves as Otto's equals, not his subjects. Sure, his home turf of Saxony was loyal, but Franconia, Bavaria, Swabia, Lorraine, they were all just waiting for a chance to challenge him. So, and this is the really crucial point, Otto's first and most dangerous battles had nothing to do with foreign invaders. They were against his own people. His early reign was just one rebellion after another, often led by the very people who should have been his closest allies. We're talking his own half-brother and even his younger brother, Henry. So how did he deal with this? Well, Otto developed this absolutely ruthless and brilliant strategy. Step 1. Crush the rebellions, no mercy. Step 2, he'd kick out the defiant dukes and replace them with his own family members, tying the duchies to him through blood. For example, after his brother Henry rebelled, Otto eventually pardoned him and made him Duke of Bavaria. But it was his third step that was pure genius. And this, right here, was his masterstroke. Otto basically turned the church into an arm of the government. He started appointing loyal bishops and abbots to powerful secular positions, giving them land and titles, making them princes of the empire. See, unlike the regular dukes who were always trying to build their own family dynasties, these churchmen were celibate. They couldn't have kids. So when they died, all that land and power went right back to the king. It was the perfect way to counterbalance the ambitious nobles. Now let's switch gears to that external threat, because this is where it all starts to come together. With his kingdom finally getting under control, Otto could turn his attention to a danger that had been terrorizing Europe for more than 50 years, the nonstop raids of the Magyars, who you might also know as the Hungarians. For decades, these guys had just swept out of the east, burning and looting their way across Germany, Italy, and France. They were a nightmare on horseback. In 954, they took advantage of yet another German civil war to raid deep into Otto's kingdom. And the very next year, a massive Magyar army came back, and this time they were looking for conquest. This was it, the moment of truth. At the Battle of Lechfeld, Otto managed to pull together a unified army from all the German duchies, something that would have been totally impossible just a few years before he consolidated power. He personally led them to a crushing, history-making victory that absolutely shattered the Magyar army and ended their threat to Western Europe for good. And get this, a chronicler writing at the time tells us something incredible happened right after the battle. Right there on the blood-soaked field, his victorious soldiers didn't just cheer him as their king. They started chanting, hailing him as Father of the Fatherland and, most importantly, Emperor. This was the moment, right here, that Otto truly became the Great. That victory at Lechfeld gave Otto a level of prestige that was untouchable.
He had the undisputed authority to finally look beyond Germany's borders and chase that ultimate ambition, to revive the Roman Empire in the West, just like Charlemagne had done about 150 years earlier. His big chance came from Italy, which, predictably, was in total chaos. A weak tyrant named Berengar II was in charge, and he'd imprisoned the rightful queen, Adelaide. So in 951, Otto marches his army over the Alps, frees Adelaide, and then marries her himself. Just like that, boom, he's the king of Italy. He brought the whole fractured peninsula under his control and put the papacy, which had been getting bullied by local lords, under his protection. And all of this led to the grand prize. 11 years after he first marched into Italy, Otto returned to Rome. On February 2, 962, Pope John XII placed the imperial crown on his head, and with that single act, the kingdoms of Germany and Italy were officially bound together into a massive new political entity, the Holy Roman Empire. But Otto wasn't just going to be the Pope's bodyguard. He planned on being the boss. When Pope John XII realized just how powerful Otto had become and started plotting behind his back, Otto just marched right back to Rome, kicked him out, and installed his own guy as the new pope. Otto made it crystal clear that from now on the emperor, not some squabbling Roman nobles, would decide who got to be pope. So after a whole lifetime of war, strategy, and diplomacy, what did Otto the Great actually leave behind? Well, his reign didn't just create a new fancy title for himself. It fundamentally redrew the political and cultural map of medieval Europe. For starters, he founded the Holy Roman Empire, this incredibly complex political giant that would dominate Central Europe for over 800 years. By stopping the Magyar invasions, he brought a new era of stability that allowed Europe to grow. His support for the arts and learning kicked off a cultural boom we now call the Ottonian Renaissance. And that imperial church system he created, it forged a bond between kings and the church that would define the Middle Ages. When you boil it all down, Otto built his empire on his own incredible force of will, using family ties, personal loyalty, and a powerful army to hold the whole thing together. But that just leaves us with a huge, lingering question. Can an empire built so forcefully around one single powerful personality truly last once he's gone? The centuries that followed would put his creation to the ultimate test.